Twinkle, twinkle, little star,
It's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, you do now. Today is Conspiracy Tuesday number 17, and we're going to discuss drones, aliens, and a whole bunch of shit. So I have three amazing guests on today, and I enjoy all three of their respective podcasts. And I think they're great people. I respect them a lot. So without further ado, I'll let them introduce themselves real quick. We'll start with Ryley. Ryley, let everybody know who you are, your podcast, and where they can find you.
What's up, everybody? I'm Ryley, host of the Midwest Mythos Podcast. You can find me, really, YouTube, Midwest Mythos Podcast, Instagram, Midwest Mythos, and everything Midwest Mythos you can find at Linktree/Midwest Mythos Podcast. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. And next we'll do Justin, if you don't mind letting everybody know where they can find you and all that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's Justin Doc Brown from Prometheus Lens Podcast. Anywhere you can consume fine content, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, anywhere, just search up Prometheus Lens Podcast and you can find us there at all those fine establishments.
Nice. It's a good podcast too. I started listening, so I had Justin on a couple like a month or two ago, and started listening to his podcast, and it's amazing. He does amazing work. His reels are great too. So definitely take a second to check that out. And last but not least, my best friend, my brother, Drewski from Cryptid Warfare, bro. If you don't mind taking the time to let everybody know where they can find you and all that.
What up, guys and gals and pals? Kevin, I missed you, man. I'm glad we're able to connect, brother, and get this going. So I appreciate you, man. And the other guys, good to see you guys. All right, if you guys want to, listen to my podcast, it's over on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, wherever you guys get your podcasts. If you guys need to get a hold of me, look me up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And if you guys want to write me an email, cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. If you guys need a prayer request or anything like that, or encounters, you want to chat, hit me up. That's all I got.
Dope. All right, so real quick before we get started, I just because I don't do intros on my Conspiracy Tuesdays, I figured I'd just throw a shout out to the sponsor. It is Bigfoot's Breath garlic dust. It's really good. I put it on everything, and it's amazing. It's better than you'll ever find anything at the store for garlic powder. So I highly recommend it. Flavors of the Forest, and you can find it at flavorsforest.com. It's amazing. Matt
Does it
and
taste
Nelson
better than
are
what it
amazing
smells
dudes.
like it may smell? Because Bigfoot's breath, I just imagine it wouldn't smell too good.
Depends on what he's eating, I guess.
Right. It smells like if he ate a bunch of cloves of garlic, I guess. It does. But it tastes really good. So, I figured I'd throw that out there before we get started. But gentlemen, I have a question for you. First of all, did you know Elon Musk had a brother?
Yes, I did. I heard about that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I guess he has 2 brothers and a sister. So
I
he
didn't
has
know
a
that.
brother. Yeah, so he has a brother named Kimbal, and he's an entrepreneur out in South Africa. And can you guess what his tech company is into?
Drones.
Drones. Exactly.
Just a guess.
He's yeah, no, it is. It 100% is. And Elon Musk tweeted back in June that future wars were going to be fought by drones. And then all of a sudden, right after the election, um, we start seeing these drones all over New Jersey, and they actually started coming up north here. They're in Maine now, up in my neck of the woods. I personally haven't seen them in the sky, but what do you guys what do you guys think it is? Do you think it's government? Do you think it's aliens? Like, what is your perspective like when you first heard of this stuff happening?
Somebody want to go? Okay, real quick, I'll go. Okay, so it's funny when you said Elon Musk said our future is going to be fought with drones, right, and wars.
Yeah,
Funny thing is,
yeah.
in Ukraine, follow a couple buddies of mine, and they were talking about, of course, you guys seen footage on X and all that of the war that's going on in Ukraine with Russia and stuff. So, at first it was starting off with like trench war fighting, right, and then it upscaled up to drone attacks. So they're already starting to use drones, suicide drones, kamikaze drones, drones dropping bombs, stuff like that. So, and hats out to Mossberg and Remington because the shotgun came back. So that's how they're able to fight against the drones with the Ukraine and the freedom fighters and stuff like that. Where to fight against the drones is basically just to pepper them. Just with shotgun rounds and stuff like that. But as far as that, man, I've heard so much stuff, dude, about these drones. And I always try to go about things biblically too, but I heard they came out of the ocean. And what's funny is that I don't know how legitimate that is or what, but that's just what a bunch of people were saying. But 2 weeks prior to that, how the Senate had a meeting about what the admiral came out and saying that UFOs and UAPs do come out of the ocean. They do have bases in the ocean. That's one thing. And and also too, to me, when the government says we have no idea what it is. So you're telling me with one of the top techs in the world when it comes to NORAD, all this stuff, Air Force, Space Force, all that, you have no idea what these things are. Get the frick out of here, man. Get out of here. That's total bullcrap. And yeah, go ahead.
The freaking size of these drones, they have to be registered, right? So you have to know like who's operating them.
100%. 100%, man. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's really interesting to me that they keep saying that they don't know what it's about. And then I think Biden said something about how they do know who they are because we have to know who they are or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Like those aren't the exact words that he said, but he said something to
One thing I think
that
is strange too is back in the 90s, a lot of people kind of slept on Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper, if you followed him, he wrote that book, Behold a Pale Horse.
Yep.
And he told people, I will be killed for this information that I'm releasing. And in that book, a lot of people have seen his little YouTube skits and stuff like that, but very few people have took the time to actually read his book and listen to his series. And they've actually took his old radio broadcast and they've converted it into a podcast now. And it's out there on everywhere. And it's called Mystery Babylon, I think is what it's called. I actually even have a book over here that they took it and made it into a script so you can actually read it. But in that book, man, he talks about when he was like a Navy captain or something like that. And they were out there on the Pacific Ocean where you get all those stories of the Nimitz and the UFO stuff. And this was back in, I think it was the 70s. And he said that he was out on deck and he seen this spaceship come out of the water and it hovered on deck. Everybody on the deck come out and was just, staring at this thing in astonishment. That he ran to the radar deck. They picked it up on radar. They were documenting it all and that it took off. He said, and everybody was just kind of standing there. And he said maybe 10, 15 minutes later, He said, the thing come back. He said, but it darted like a bullet straight into the water. He said, but we seen the water part and wrap around it like a blanket, like it had a force field around it. So it's like all this stuff they're talking about in Congress now. When they were talking about that, Bill Cooper come into my head. I was like, dude, he was talking about this stuff in the 90s. And he said that when it happened, they brought everybody back into the port for a debriefing and said that the head guy over all of them, one by one, talked to them all. And when he talked to Cooper, he said, son, tell me what happened out there. And he said, sir, I think it was a UFO. And he was like, gee, did Cooper, and started throwing stuff. And he said he was breaking stuff in there and going off. He said, and I just kept my cool. He said he finally calmed down. He sat down and pulled his chair up. And he said, I'm going to ask you one more time, son. What did you see out there? And he said, nothing, sir. And he said he smiled real big. He says, you're going to go far, Cooper. Sign this paper and get out of here.
It's really interesting the link is, I mean, the things that they get you to not talk about when they happen. It's, man, I think there's a ton of people, maybe thousands of people out there that have seen that. Like, I mean, obviously with the ship and stuff, there's got to be what, like, how many people does it take to man one of those ships? Like a couple hundred. So the amount of people seeing it, and then to get everybody to say that they didn't see it and all that is
non-disclosure form. Yeah,
it's fucking the NDAs and all that stuff. It's wild to me. There could be so many people that know shit that could just like let us know, but they're under oath, I guess, or something like that.
And if they do slip, they can lose their retirement, they can lose their benefits. You know, they can lose all this stuff.
Their life.
And, their life.
Yeah.
Their lives.
You know? And a lot of people ain't about that life, man.
That's true. That's true. Man, I've gone back and forth with this drone thing too. Is like, I'm like, is the aliens, because they're talking about how some of them don't have heat signatures and some of them are reacting to being seen. You know what I mean? And they go transparent. Like the minute that you see them, within like a minute or two, they're either acknowledging that you're looking at them and they'll come closer or go further away, or they dissipate, like just vanish, which is more alien-esque to me. But say and then on to that point too, of these things coming out of the water, we have the account from Admiral Byrd from Operation High Jump.
Yeah.
So, on the alien side of things, would they ever tell us? I mean, I know we've had the congressional meetings where they're telling us that aliens exist, but do you think that if these drones were alien operated, do you think that they would tell us that they are?
Quite possibly. But it would be a very soft disclosure thing. I don't think they would come out right away and say it's aliens, because even if it is aliens operating these things, due to the size of them, I mean, something they could have like a little gray or something up inside of them. But if they are operating them, I do think it is very similar to like a drone. Like they got a remote control somewhere, or they're doing it like telepathically or something like that, because we don't know what kind of technology they have. One of the things I was gonna mention it earlier too is, even if it is governmental, even if this is the government, that's not saying that it can't be spiritual or extraterrestrial by any means, because we know through like the Eisenhower deal that they do work together at some point. And not to get a little sidetrack, but it was just this thought I had when I was talking about it this week. Is, I don't know if any of you guys play video games at all. Call of Duty back
Master
in the day.
Chief.
Oh yeah,
Master Chief.
there you go, Master Chief. Yeah.
But
yeah, they look like the Echo 419s.
Mm-hmm. But then also the whole plot line of Call of Duty Black Ops 2 takes place in the year of 2025, and the whole climax deal at the end of the game is somebody hacks a drone system, the U.S. government's drone system, and the world gets bombarded by a drone attack. So there's drones flying everywhere, and if I remember from my memory, some of these drones look like some of the ones that were in that game. Just military tech, just flying around. Normally they're just hovering around, doing nothing, but as soon as somebody flips a switch, it's destroying the whole country. So
yeah, the thing too about that aspect is that Kimbal Musk's drone company is for video games. It's for gaming. So, like that, kind of like I also have like this flip flop thinking on Elon Musk. Some days I'm like, Elon's a great dude. He's for advancement of humankind. And then there's other times where I'm like, Elon fucking wants to put a fucking computer chip in our fucking brains and control us or something. And he's making these robots, and I'm just like, it very much looks like fucking it's starting to feel like iRobots or the Terminator to me. And I don't know if I like it. I'm not sure if I like
Elon,
where things are
with
going.
With me, I think of him, and it's kind of like when you think about Greek myths, and they have all these stories that have underlining meaning that relay a good moral message or whatever. And it's like you have Prometheus, and his brother gets overlooked a lot. That's Epimetheus. And their names in the Greek, Prometheus means forethought, to be thinking ahead. And his brother, Epimetheus, means afterthought, means he just acts and doesn't think of the future. And it's kind of like, with me, Elon is the guy that is gifted with great intelligence and great gifts, but he has the mind of Epimetheus. You know what I mean? It's like like far as consequences and thinking ahead, he doesn't. He like if he has a thought in his head, boom, he hits Twitter, man, and posts his thoughts. If he has an idea for a great invention, he just makes it and doesn't think about the bad consequences and stuff like that. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It is, and he's talking about buying. Was it frickin' NBC News or no? It was MSNBC.
That meme, that girl bending over.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, can you imagine if he freaking buys a news freaking organization and then start? I mean, I feel like
It made Rachel Maddow cry.
Yeah,
she cried.
He's a very emotional person to begin with about a lot of things. But it's sometimes I think he might be an alien if aliens actually exist. You know what I mean? Like I don't think if aliens do exist, I think they are already here. I think they were here before us, and that goes into the thought of the Anunnaki and stuff. I don't think they created us by any means, but because there's a real weird thing about that they fear the name of Jesus. Like
100%.
when there's so many freaking stories out there with the paranormal aspect, and then like you see these things. I mean, Karen Wilkinson talks about it a lot with her encounters and stuff. She's like, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you, and they leave just like they like a demon would, or like a ghost would or a negative entity of any kind. They leave. They have a fear of what seems to of God, and it seems to me like they are on the same playing level as us. So what are they?
Not only that too, if you look at if you dive in the whole alien abductions, right? You dive into MUFON, you dive into the CE4 project, which is a guy who worked for MUFON. Then he left because they basically told him he was basically like an investigator from MUFON. He was collecting intelligence, and he was gathering up information. And he was a Christian, mind you. And he was talking to people who were getting abducted. He was teaching them like, "Hey, try this out," which is basically speaking in the name of Jesus Christ, right? And he was gathering intel, and these people started doing that, but they started giving their lives over to Christ as well. And these entities, the whole freaking abduction stopped, the visitation stopped, and so he's collecting all that intel and he presented it to MUFON. And they told him, "Hey, basically, this is bad for business. We're not gonna do this." And he's like, "Well, I quit." So he quit, made up his own thing. So, but to me, when it comes to the alien part, right? If you look at the basically all of the intel and stuff, a lot of them promote New Age. A lot of them promote, be your own God, all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're okay with Buddhism. They're okay with Hindu. They're okay with Muslim, all that stuff. As soon as you mention Jesus Christ, Christianity, or whatever, it's like, ugh, they're totally trying to combat that. And to me, they're totally working for the other side. They're fallen angels, in my opinion, disguised as whatever. Yeah, so, they've been lying since the beginning. They came here as the Anunnaki. Then later on, they came here as like Greek gods, Babylon, all this stuff. Now they're aliens, right? They lied about how they were from Mars, then Pluto, then freaking Planet X, then galaxies far, far away. Like, dude, like the breadcrumbs are there. Yeah, that's just my opinion. To me, they're straight up fallen angels, hands down, and a type anyway, I should say. And yeah.
I feel like on that aspect, I feel like if they never came, right? So say they never were here, I feel like we would never have any concept of God or anything. Like we would, and I feel, which is weird. I feel like possibly that we would just consider ourselves as God, which I think that there is a power in that as well. I'm not saying like to idolize ourselves over God or anything like that, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, I think that if there was no ever the Anunnaki or the Greek gods or anything that showed us anything like that, or it can even go as far back as the tree, with Adam and Eve, like if that was never a thing, I feel like we would have more of a power within ourselves. If that I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I feel
I
like
hear what you're saying.
Well, without that first rebellion, we'd be in communion with God
100%.
24/7.
Without that,
we would be
yeah.
perfect light beings in communion with God, and we'd be in an Eden-style atmosphere. I mean, it's because of those entities, that we're in this shithole that we're in now.
100%. If you want to take it farther than that, like if you ask a Jew, right, where's the fall? If you ask a Western Standard Christian, where was the fall? Everyone would say, well, Adam and Eve. The Jews would say, something, Adam and Eve, and then it would be Satan's downfall, right? To me, with that, if it wasn't for Lucifer and deceiving the third of angels, it was just like a snowball effect. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I agree though.
Yeah. You have the three rebellions if you asked any ancient Israelite.
Yeah.
And what all common themes with all three of those is the B'nai Ha Elohim, the sons of God. And without failure, every single time that phrase is used, it's talking about divine beings. So divine beings, God, Satan, angels, whatever. A textbook definition, if you want to get technical about it, is not of this world. So if you want to get technical about it and put it in terms in a textbook, all those things are extraterrestrial. But we all get hung up and fight over verbiage. So, it's angels. That's true. It's aliens. I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
Yeah,
but the Tower of Babel, Genesis 6, the Garden of Eden and the tree, all three of those events have to do with the B'nai Ha Elohim.
100%.
Yeah, that's it. I think they're all the same thing. I think demons, aliens, all that. I think they're all the same thing. They just
slap a different bumper sticker on.
That where we all perceive them differently, which is another interesting thing. But it goes into things that I think that we used to be able to do, and I think that without like you said, without all this stuff, we'd be basking in fucking true enlightenment and all that stuff.
Well,
And I think he was on Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago now. He was on there, and it seems like a joke, but I don't think it was a joke. And he's like, do you think that the wind is trying to tell us something that we don't know how to hear anymore? And-
are you familiar with the Nikola Tesla story by
Yes.
any chance?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
why he was able to get all these ideas and make all the crazy inventions and change the world the way that he did?
Yeah,
Just
but
like
go ahead
Dr.
and tell
Von
it.
Braun.
I think that's what's happening with Elon, honestly, and all this stuff. There's a voice that is coming to him in his head when he's sleeping. I forgot exactly what the entity was.
Yeah.
Yes.
How about his mom? Isn't his mother a witch?
Elon Musk or Tesla?
Yes. No, Elon Musk. Look that up real quick, because I thought I read that somewhere.
I'm gonna grab that real quick. Well,
all right.
I'll check that out.
But it deals with demons.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, look, let's go back to the fall. When after the fall in Eden, what were all the fallen angels doing to all the people? They were teaching us how to rebel even farther from God. If you look at the case of like Azazel, he taught us how to do
7 sacred sciences. Yep.
Yep. So like
Cutting your
makeup,
roots.
war, weapons, everything. Why would they only do it once? Let's, from the perspective of the enemy, why would you only do it once? Why not constantly keep on doing it? If that's your goal, is to bring as many people with you to hell when the time comes, would you not be at every waking moment trying to convince people to do something to bring them down with you? Give them technology, temptations. Going back to the Neuralink thing, why wouldn't anybody want to increase their brain power? Why wouldn't anybody want to be able to think like a supercomputer at the exact moment, control things with their minds?
Change your DNA structure from what it's created to be with just God's makeup,
Exactly. Yep. So, in my eyes, it's the same game, just changing I don't even want to say changing the difficulty, but it's just playing with the people that you got, different environments. It's something that we got to be aware of, or else we are going to have like probably another Sodom and Gomorrah situation.
Yeah, and I see entropy coming into play, because back in the day, it was more of a spiritual connection, because everybody talks about lost civilizations, and they were an advanced technology civilization. Well, when we hear that, we think of drones, we think of AI. It's a different type of advanced technology. It was about ley lines, it was about harmonics and frequency, and they done similar things, but they sourced it a different way. They were more in communion with these spirits and these entities, and more occult type practices. So they were advanced, but it's in a different way. And now we've gotten away from that. We've lost that connection and that unity and that connection with spirituality and those type of things. And now we're more nuts and bolts. We're all about physicality and technology, what we can see, feel, taste, and touch. So they changed their game plan. They presented themselves in a way that's more palpable to us and that we will accept and want. So you look at 1947, Roswell. They presented themselves in a physical nuts and bolts form that we would accept and be attracted to. And just like the book of Enoch, they traded knowledge, what we wanted, and they got something they wanted in return. I think that's exactly what happened in 1947.
100%.
They gave us technology, something we wanted, nuts and bolts, and in return, we gave them something. And that's why it's so confusing now when you look up in the sky, because it's a mass smorgasbord.
Yeah.
You have spiritual entities up there. You have fallen angels conveying around.
You got tech.
You have tech from governments that these fallen entities have traded them. It's just a smorgasbord of stuff up there, and it's hard to tell what's what. I mean, and I've even seen videos that it looks like just like Ezekiel, wheels within wheels. I've
Yep.
seen some videos with people with Sony cameras. It looks like glowing orbs with like electricity lights around it. And I even seen one video today. A woman was talking to it, and the electricity lights were stimulating and responding to her when she was talking to it. And she was asking it, "Do you know Jesus?" That thing lit up like a Christmas tree, bro.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. That's interesting. It's you bring that up, and while we're having drones over here, there's orbs in the UK right now as well. So that's pretty interesting. I would say more of the aspect of orbs, because orbs remind me of what the Chris Bledsoe went out in Wilmington, North Carolina. His encounters and stuff, and then he got entrenched in with like the CIA and all this stuff. And I definitely am of the mindset that the government has technology 50 years ahead of what we have now, because of like the trading with these other entities and the more knowledgeable entities. Like the 1947, that's when it really all kicked off. Our technology advanced so much faster after that event. And I want to make a timeline for 1947, because there's a lot of conspiracies and stuff that I've looked into. Some of them not really governmental, but most of them are. And there's always some kind of tie to that year, 1947. I mean, fucking, there's a curse up here in Maine on a river where 3 white people die every year on this river, and the only year that nobody died was 1947. So like, that's not a government thing, but it's a weird coincidence for that.
If you want to dive into 1947, I know the perfect guy for you, Alex Constantine. I had him on my podcast, dude. He talked about 1940. He knew everything about 1947, all the conspiracies, stuff with the Bible, all that stuff. I'm going to send you his information, bro. You got to have him on. He'd be a good guy for you to have on. Anyways, yeah.
All right. Thanks. I appreciate it. It's just, it boggles my mind for these, first of all, these gentlemen that I had on the other day. We talked about the drones in New Jersey, and they were like, if they were alien, they wouldn't have the lights, like the red light, the green light, and the white light, all 3 of those lights that planes have. So to them, it reads as human, the human aspect to it and stuff like that. Well, but then like, they're telling me this, and I'm like, well, Project Bluebeam, is supposed to be like it's supposed to give us the what's the freaking word I'm looking for? Like, we think that it's alien, but it's not, or whatever. So like, what if the majority of the drones are ours, but then some of them aren't? You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
Well, with you, I'm not 100% sure on this. I'm pretty sure this is the date, but do you know what the major piece of technology was to come out of Roswell by any chance?
I do not, actually.
It was lasers. Now,
oh yes.
We can fact check this, but if I remember correctly, when they were going through it, because of like some of the cloth that they recovered from inside the craft, they saw this light just shooting through, so they reversed technology. And like 2 years after 1940, so like 1949 or 48, one of the two, is when lasers started to be happening. And well, if we're gonna go into this whole hologram stuff, where how do they make these holograms at all?
Yeah,
they're
lasers.
They're projecting these lasers.
Yes.
So was this? Well, because all lasers are is messing with light, and
but also
that
too,
makes
go ahead.
That makes me think of like the green lasers in Maui before the fucking
That's
fires
exactly what
happened.
I was gonna go to. Yes.
Yeah. we have the balloon that supposedly came from China, and then the green lasers that are coming from China that they're like, oh, we were just looking at geography with those. Like, why are you in a different country looking at geography without saying anything to anybody? First of all, to begin with, you're gonna be like, hey, there's gonna be green lasers, just so you know, on this such and such a day because we're mapping out stuff or something. That's weird to me. And then you got the blue roofs, anything blue, didn't catch on fire. And then I don't know. It's weird to have things that we don't know what they are in our airspace to begin with. It's kind of it's a little scary. I'll be honest, because I don't know what the purpose of it is. And supposedly they're flying over like sensitive areas in New Jersey and stuff like that. And then there was a container ship that was coming into port in Newark, New Jersey, I think. And one of the containers held like radioactive material or like nuclear material or something, and it was broken open and everything in it was gone.
Yeah, I was reading this thing from L.A. Marzulli, and he was talking about that. What his theory is that these drones, right, are doing like recon for these entities that are in the ocean. They're doing recon, and they're trying to find radioactive sites, right, like that ship, certain areas in New Jersey, stuff like that. And then when they gather up all that intel and information, what supposedly is that's when we'll have the, all these things come up. So I don't know. That was just his theory.
It's like Godzilla.
Right?
These entities are feeding off of the radioactive waste.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, have you guys ever actually looked and took like a deep dive into Bluebeam, actually, and looked at the documents, like the 17-page documents?
I have not looked at the documents.
I haven't either. And after you brought that up, I'm that guy that I have to look into these things. I have to, if I'm going to talk about something, I want to look into it.
Hey,
I gotcha.
When you get it, put that wherever you find it at, put it in the group chat. I want to look at it too, man.
Yeah, same here.
Well, I found this guy, and he's a small time dude. His channel, he's only got like 54 followers, but he did a video, and he said I deep dive searched everywhere. He said I could not find it anywhere. He said every article that I found that had a direct link to the PDF documents, he said, were wiped.
Gone. Yeah.
He said, but I found, he said, a very old, he said, podcast. He said, from back in the day, he said, where they were reading from it. He said, so what I done, he said, is I took AI and made them read it like they're having a conversation. And he summarized it in that video. So I actually got some pretty good information on it. The guy, and of course, this was AI talking, so if they might have mispronounced the name, so I'm going off of how they pronounced it. But it was a Canadian journalist named Serge Monos in the 90s that was looking into government conspiracy. So this was even pre-internet days. And he's the one that released this Project Bluebeam. And this document was only 17 pages. So it's crazy that this was, early 90s, pre-internet days, that this thing blew out and blew up the way that it did. And it was originally written in French. So it had to be translated to even get out to English readers. Yeah. And it was broken down into 4 stages, and they summarized it basically. Stage 1, and the way they talked about this is, basically, this is dead on arrival, this whole thing. People keep talking about Project Bluebeam, but it's dead on arrival because each one has to come out consecutively. And the first one has not even happened yet. So everybody wants to talk about how they're seeing holographs in the sky and all this other stuff. Well, the first one's not even happened yet. So it's kind of like they're going out of sequence. But it says stage 1, it says, shake the people's faith. NASA will do this by orchestrating earthquakes and uncover archaeological evidence that contradicts traditional faith beliefs. and they intended to plant fake artifacts to shake people's faith. Stage 2, holographic Messiah, that we will see giant religious figures in the sky throughout the globe, and that they will merge into a universal Messiah figure. And then stage 3, the voice inside. They would use radio waves to communicate with people telepathically, making people think their gods are speaking to them. And then stage 4, the alien invasion, to create global panic, to create nuclear war. Unite and defeat the alien threat, global disarmament, and one world government, a new world order. And shortly after releasing this, he died of a heart attack, and a lot of conspiracy theorists believe that he was murdered for releasing this.
Yeah. That seems to be the theme. When somebody knows too much, they get got, you know.
Yeah, true that, man.
Oh yeah.
But I thought it was wild, because I hear everybody talk about it, but I never actually looked into it and seen what the stages were supposed to be and all that.
Yeah, I remember having David on there on my podcast, and he talked about that. That was like 2 years ago, though. But yeah,
he talked about that military guy that he picked up on his, because he's an Uber driver, as one of the jobs he does, and he picked up the military guy, and he was talking to him, and then like the military guy just brought up Blue Beam, and was like, "By the way, it's real," and then left.
Yeah, that's like trick or treat. I'm out.
But I also have like a different take on that too. Like he could have been just like, "I'm gonna fuck with this guy," you know, and like,
exactly.
Blue Beam's real. Bye.
Slammed the door and ran off into the dark.
He's like, I just made that guy's day.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when you know, you're not allowed to. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to talk about this stuff.
If we start getting earthquakes in the Middle East or in the Appalachians, I think that's when we should start being concerned. Because, are you familiar with Göbekli Tepe at all up in Turkey?
I've heard of it. Yeah,
they put they were doing excavation there, and they had to put a complete stop to it and say, all right, we cannot do any more excavations here for 150 years. They had to replant all the trees and everything. So I think one of the thoughts that some theorists have is they found stuff because in the general area, some people believe just from the scriptures, like that's where some of the seals are, and that's where Satan's locked, is underneath Turkey. And
so it talks about in scripture, like where his throne's at. Yeah.
So they're like, oh, maybe they found that or something that was leading to that, so they had to just completely stop excavation, because this whole site, the fact that they even found Göbekli Tepe in the first place is wild, because there wasn't very much. They just found like the top of something and completely did everything. Cannot explain why or how any of the stuff was built the way it was, just for the area. So I can see, because like you said, they're going to be planting fake artifacts and stuff like that to deter people. Well, what if they found the real artifacts? The reason they're stopped excavation, nobody's allowed to go there anymore, so they can go plant them fake artifacts. Because we already know, all four of us know, they have the technology to manipulate the weather. They have the technology. They could cause an earthquake if they wanted to. They never specified how big the earthquake was.
CERN, all that, yeah.
And it makes no sense scientifically. I mean, you make this great discovery, and you know, Dr. Judd Burton and Dr. Aaron Judkins, I've had them on the show many times, and they say that that's the paradigm that busts the paradigm. You know, this shows you that civilization is much more ancient than they thought. And it's completely backwards of what they thought. They thought that you had to have a civilization, you had to be able to farm and cultivate and do all these other things first before you could establish a religion. And this shows you that no, religion is what was established first. He said, and then all of a sudden they only excavate, I think it's like 5 to 6% of this site. And then all of a sudden they just stop and they're like, oh, okay, we're going to save some for future generations. He said, when in the hell have they ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
There's enough stuff to dig for 3 to 4 lifetimes of work. Why would, never in history have we discovered anything like this and just said, we're going to stop and just save it for later.
Power.
Yeah. It's interesting. This whole I'm so fascinated with everything that's going on right now, all of this stuff. They've even talked about finding the Ark too, which is really interesting, and they're trying to discount that at the moment. Like the archaeologists out there are like, no, this like looks like the Ark, and then they're like the people that I don't know if it's the government or what. They're like, no, it's not. Let's not tell everybody. And then they're on podcasts and in the shows on history talking about the Ark and stuff. And I don't know.
I've had Andrew Jones on my show. He lives there. He's the main guy that works at the site, and he's picked up all the work from Ron Wyatt. And I've done 3 shows with him. And then one of them, he breaks down every single scan and piece of archaeological evidence and scientific work that they've done on that thing. It's amazing.
Did they ever test like the petrified wood? Did they ever test that out? Do you say?
I don't know with him, because there's 2 different ones. There's some people that think that it's up in the mountains, and Dave Navarra, he's come down with pieces, and they've done carbon dating on that, and it's come out like really freaking old, but it's like they can never lead anybody back to it. And there's all kinds of accounts, but the site that he's talking about is that the Dupinar site.
Gotcha.
It's that site that it's got that looks an outcropping of a shape of a boat, and they will not let them dig. So it's like all the work they've done has just been what do you call it, ground penetrating radar and metal detection and stuff like that. But even with the ground penetrating radar, they found ever so many feet, like decking board and even metal pins. They picked up metal spikes ever so many feet and stuff, and the length of the boat matches the description of the Bible. I mean, he lays it out pretty good, man. I mean, if it's not Noah's Ark, I'm fooled.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Same. What frickin' blows my mind too is the most catastrophic event in the world history, which was World War II, and the Nazis and stuff like that. They're looking for these holy relics like the whole time. Like there's something to that to me, I mean, obviously I don't think they were good people. Obviously, I'm not saying that in any way, but there's a really weird thing when it comes to biblical stuff, like holy things, and the fact that they're looking for holy relics and these artifacts and stuff, and I feel like there's some kind of power to it or something like that. And the more people that I talk to, honestly, I'm gonna like, for real, like talking with you guys and stuff, the more I talk to people on this podcast, the more I believe in God. And I wasn't, not that I was an atheist or anything to begin with, but I didn't really have much of a thought on the matter. And then out of nowhere, my son starts talking about scripture, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? And I just think that there's like this weird thing that it's like there's just things that are happening, I feel like, and it's on purpose, and it's to put God into my heart and start looking into these facets when it comes to
the hero's journey.
Oh, 100%, man. I know there's a lot of people also waking up too, because we're in like birth pains right now, and a lot of people internally know there is a God. They internally feel like something's changing. It's given like people like an urgency, man. Like something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen.
Yeah, I believe
that's what happened. That's what happened with me when I found Christ 4 years ago. It was a series of events, but it was that urgency that something's coming too as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, it's awesome that you're feeling that. And on top of the Nazi comment with looking for all the artifacts and stuff like that, this has recently just come back into my circle of thought with, if you look at today, what group of people is out here now going and destroying all these artifacts? The Islam, they're going
not
to
the Vatican? Not the Vatican? Not the Smithsonian's? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, them too.
No, they're opening portals.
Yeah, they're working hand in hand. But they're going to all these museums in like Egypt and stuff that would have all these artifacts, all these places in the Middle East, even now in Europe, going to places where all these artifacts are that really haven't been studied too much because they're on display and they're just getting blown up. So we can no longer look at them and put the pieces together. Because if we had everything put together, well, not directly together, but if we could study them all, especially with now the technology we have, and make the connections, there's a very, very good chance that we could have almost undeniable proof of a good majority of the Old Testament of the Bible just based off these artifacts, but the artifacts are gone now. So I really think that's part of the enemy's plan too, kind of like what the Nazis wanted to use the artifacts for what they can really do. That failed, so now they have to completely get rid of them to try to wipe the history.
Yeah.
And to tie it in with the UFO stuff, that shows you they were in communion with these entities, because all those top scientists come back to the United States, and what was that, Operation Paperclip?
Operation Paperclip.
Yep.
And then von Braun started NASA, and all of a sudden we had this explosion of knowledge, and was building rockets and going to the moon and all this other stuff. And that shows you, I mean, they were in direct connection with these entities, and like you talked about with Elon Musk and what was it? The other guy's name slipping my mind. The electricity guy.
Tesla.
Tesla.
Were communing with these entities and getting knowledge.
Well, so was Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard, they were getting and one of them died in an explosion. It didn't close that portal, but I 100% agree with you. I'm gonna close with this, and I got to get off. But but going back to what you guys are saying, 100%, man. But to me, in generalities, when it comes down to it, they're all trying to disprove Christ, all trying to disprove God, all trying to shake the thought process of the people on what God's trying to tell them. Like, it reminds me of the verse when seeing these drones. It reminds me of the verse on, and going back to what you said, man, Justin, that men's faith are going to fail them because of the things that are coming on the earth. Okay. It talks about that in Revelation and stuff like that. And and everything that's just coming out when it comes to the drones, the wars and everything, and the new technology. And when it comes to these aliens, fallen angels, mind you, here's my thought process on the original question you talked about, Kevin. What do I think these drones are and where they're from? To me, it leads back to Genesis 6, right? The fallen angels, right? When the flood happened, and that's funny, we talked about Noah. When the flood happened, God killed everything that were land created and air created, right? But the creatures of the sea doesn't say anything about. If these entities came out of the sky, to me, they were already in the ocean as well. So when the flood happened, and it talks about in the days of Noah, there were Nephilim in those days and the days after that, right? They could have slipped through portals. They could have came out of the ocean because they could have had bases in the ocean. Who knows, right? And then when these things, these drones, man-made, new technology, fallen angel tech, like, to me, I think it's just a big cahoot, everything wrapped up into the end of days, man. Like, these things, the days coming up, 2025 is going to be a test of faith, in my opinion. So, read your scripture. You definitely know your scripture, have a relationship with Christ, because there's going to be a lot of distractions, a lot of things detouring your thought process off of Jesus, things coming on the earth that are going to give you fear, things of the government that are going to give you fear. So my number one take is, for everyone, just try to get closer to Jesus this year. because it's going to be a wild ride. So,
hey,
I agree.
I'm trying to find it and I can't find it. What's that verse that talks about demons or spiritual things being created and coming from the depths? You guys know what I'm talking about? It come to my mind when you were talking about that and these things coming from the water.
let me look, man. Let me look this up. Ask ChatGPT. No.
Is it one of Daniel's dreams or?
It says something about demons or spirits or something like that are created from the depths.
But also reminds me too, though, of when Jesus casted out the demons of that guy, right? In the cemetery.
Went to the pigs.
And they said, Lord, let us go to the pigs. That way we can go into the ocean. And they dove straight in the ocean after the pigs. They got into the pigs.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's kind of a big coincidence, but yeah. That's all I got.
I can't find it, but yeah.
All
right. Drew, if you don't mind just letting everybody know your podcast and where they can find it and find you real quick.
Yeah, guys. My name is Drewski. I run Cryptid Warfare Podcast. Cryptid Warfare and Conspiracies Podcast. You guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and you guys need to get a hold of me. Write me an email, cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. So, love you guys. God bless.
All right. Love you. Happy to have you. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
All right, bro. Love you too, man. Justin, good to meet you, man. Ryley.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man.
Kicking butt, bro.
You too, brother.
Later, guys.
Later. All right. So I guess we'll close with that too. So, Justin, if you don't mind.
John D.
John D. Yes.
He was communicating with those things.
You're right.
And you remember, he even summoned a little Yoda spirit. That's where Star Wars got the Yoda figure from.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I remember because I talked to Heidi about that, and that was the first time I ever heard of John D. was when she told me. It's man.
He was an advisor
they're
to the
all
Queen.
in cahoots. Yep, he was. And now the Freemasons know everything, or well, I think I don't know. So the Knights of Templar I didn't know was a real thing. I used to think it was just a video game thing from Creed's Assassin's Creed, and then come to find out that was a real freaking thing, and that was very freaking like the way they made that game was extremely factual. I was like, holy cow! Like even the symbolism and everything. I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. The golden apple.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
there is no apple.
I don't think there was. Though after talking to you, I was like, I don't think there was an apple. But hey, guys, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. Like I said in the beginning, it was kind of last minute. But Justin, if you don't mind letting everybody know where they can find you and your podcast one more time.
Oh yeah, come join us on the hero's journey, guys. I release every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The YouTube channel, I'm trying to grow it. We have a live premiere and chat every Monday night at 8 p.m. Come join us on the channel. But anywhere you can consume content, I'm on all the social media channels. I release 2 or 3 posts and memes and reels every single day. Come check me out.
Nice. It's a good podcast too, so I highly recommend it. And Ryley, if you don't mind as well, letting everybody know where they can find you and your podcast.
All right. You can find my podcast, Midwest Mythos, on really any streaming platform. I just started uploading episodes on YouTube, working on a backlog for all the early episodes. But you can also, basically everything you can find on my Instagram, Midwest Mythos. There I got link trees, links to everything there. If anybody wants to reach out and have a conversation, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to have you all out there. And thank you, Kevin, for having me on. This was a blast, man.
Thanks for coming on, man. Time is our greatest currency, and the fact that you guys took the time to do this means the fucking world to me. But for everybody listening, go check out their Perspective podcast. Again, I listen to all 3 of them, and I love all 3 of them. So with that being said, if you don't mind, like, follow, share, subscribe. Those are the easy and free ways to help the show grow. You can also leave a rating and review. That's also free. But if your podcatcher doesn't allow you to leave a review, you can leave a review on the website where the weird ones are podcast.com. You can also get merch, coffee, and hot sauce on the website as well. So with that being said, you know the drill. Question everything and stay weird. Until next time, guys.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.